Ever get that, what is it, that new kid feeling first day of school?
Totally.
You're the newbie at work trying to, find the coffee machine, remember everyone's name.
Right.
And bam, you need a favor.
Oh, tell me about it.
But everyone around you is just, swamped. You know what I mean?
It's the worst, that feeling of being the newbie, still trying to find your feet, and
Totally.
it's like you're invisible or something.
Exactly. And that's actually what we're diving into today, a surprisingly relatable source. An English language lesson.
Yeah, you heard right. This YouTube channel, English Skill Learning.
Love it.
Their video, Master English Fast with Podcasts and Real Conversation, episode 01, it's got this great scenario that's like classic workplace awkwardness.
Okay, so set the scene for us.
So there's this new employee, Rachel, right?
Yeah, okay.
It's a quick favor, simple stuff, but all her colleagues.
Yeah.
Masters of the brush off.
Oh, I've been there.
Right.
It's like they have radar for favor-needing newbies.
Totally. So Rachel, she goes up to a colleague, bless her heart, at least she's trying, and she's like, sorry to bother you, but my name is Rachel.
Okay.
I'm new here. Can I ask you a favor?
See, even there you can practically hear the hesitation.
Oh, absolutely. That little sorry to bother you,
Yeah.
dead giveaway. And of course, the colleague hits her with, welcome on board.
Classic.
Yuki,
Here it comes.
I'm afraid I can't help you right now. I'm getting ready for a very important meeting.
The instant deflection. It's like they're contractually obligated to sound busy.
It's crazy, right? But it's so common. Like the second you ask for anything, everyone's got a VIP meeting.
Okay, but seriously, do you tell if someone's really swamped or just using it as an excuse?
That is the question, isn't it? And that's where those subtle cues come in. Like in this dialogue, the phrase, I'm about to. It's like a recurring theme.
Oh, it's their go-to, isn't it?
Totally. Now, could they actually be busy? Sure. But when it's that frequent, it kind of makes you wonder,
It's like a pattern of deflection instead of actually seeing if they can help.
Exactly. And it gets it's not even just that they're about to. They pass the buck.
Oh, yeah. The old go ask so-and-so routine.
Exactly. Like, you know what? I'd love to help you, but I'm about to meet an important client. Do you want to ask Sean instead? He sits right over there.
It's like you said, instead, they're not just busy, they're actively pushing the problem away.
Right. Like, don't you dare burden me with your simple request.
It's so frustrating for poor Rachel, though. Like, she's clearly trying to be polite. She even says things like, sorry to interrupt.
Right. You think that would buy her some leeway, you'd
Yeah.
think, right. But it's almost like sometimes being too polite,
Yeah,
it can backfire, if that makes sense.
totally. It's like if you walk into a room and everyone's heads are down, working away,
Right.
that's probably not the time to ask where the good snacks are hidden.
Exactly. Timing is everything. Like,
Yeah.
imagine asking for a raise
Oh, good.
while your boss is, like, chasing their toddler around,
Yeah,
Not the best move.
not gonna end well, but poor Rachel, she's new, doesn't have that insider knowledge yet.
Right.
And it doesn't get easier for her. She finally tracks down this Sean guy.
Oh, no.
And he's like, actually, I'm working on a document that is due in 2 minutes. Can't talk right now.
Oof. You can practically feel the awkwardness radiating through the screen.
Totally. But you know what?
What's that?
As much as this dialogue is like peak how not to ask for a favor,
Right.
it also kind of shows us how to say no a little more gracefully.
Oh, for sure. Because even though Rachel's coworkers are basically the kings and queens of avoidance,
Right.
they're still trying to be polite about it,
Totally. So there are actually some useful tips hidden in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like that phrase the first colleague used, I'm afraid I can't. Subtle, but it works. Shows a bit of regret,
Yeah.
but still sets a boundary,
Way better than a blunt nope.
right?
Like, I'm afraid I can't make that meeting. Something came up.
There you go. Perfect
Okay.
example.
Makes it sound less harsh, I think.
It does. You're acknowledging the request, but not giving in. Which brings up a good point, actually.
Okay.
How do you know when to offer that soft no versus actually helping?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Especially in a workplace where being helpful is, part of the job description.
Totally. It's a balancing act, right?
Totally. You don't want to be a pushover,
Right.
but you also don't want to be the office grump.
Exactly. And that's where I think being able to read those unspoken cues is so important.
Okay, so not just the words themselves, but how they say it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are they making eye contact? Do they seem genuinely interested? Or are they giving you, one-word answers.
It's like you're trying to read their minds or
A
something.
little bit. It helps you figure out if they really can't help.
Right.
Or if they just don't want to.
Okay, so we've talked about saying no. What about the art of the ASK?
Oh, good point.
Like, Rachel's coworkers are definitely dropping the ball here.
Right.
But maybe there are things Mary could be doing differently, you know?
Right. Absolutely. For one, being specific goes a long way.
Instead of like, can you do me a favor?
Right, which is so vague.
It's more like, excuse me, do you know where the printer is?
Much better.
Boom. Problem solved.
Right. It focuses the request. Makes it easier for the other person to be like yes or no.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And another thing, acknowledging their time. Especially if they're clearly swamped.
Yeah. Like, hey, I know you're slammed, but
Exactly. Shows respect.
it's like they say, you catch more flies with honey than with,
Vinegar.
right, vinegar. Speaking of sweetening the deal, though,
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
reciprocity. Am I right?
You are. Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Offer to grab them a coffee when you're headed to the break room.
Nice.
Little gestures go a long way.
So it's like a give and take, right? You
Yeah.
scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Exactly. Builds that goodwill. But sometimes,
Yeah.
even with the best phrasing, the perfect timing,
Right.
the answer is still no.
And that's okay.
Exactly. Sometimes you just got to accept it and move on.
Totally. But knowing how to say no nicely, that's an art form in itself, you know?
Oh, absolutely. You don't want to be the person everyone takes advantage of.
Exactly. Like setting boundaries, but politely. Which actually, Rachel's coworkers, as much as they were avoiding helping,
Right.
they kind of did that, didn't they?
They did. It wasn't perfect, but all those, I'd love to, but, or I'm afraid I can't. They were trying.
Right. Even if it was code for, I'm hiding behind my important meeting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's a good reminder that a flat-out no isn't always necessary.
Especially at work, where, you still got to see these people every day.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance. Being helpful, but not letting yourself get steamrolled.
So how do you tell the difference? Like when someone's no is a real no.
Good question. Sometimes it's about listening for what they don't say, you know?
Okay, interesting. So like a soft no is more like, hey, swamped right now, but maybe check back later.
There you go. They're leaving the door open a crack. A hard no is more final.
Got it.
Like, I wish I could, but my plate's really full, or, I'm actually not the best person to ask about that. Maybe try so-and-so.
So they might offer other options, but the bottom line is,
They're not budging.
got it. So it's like being a communication detective.
A little bit. Listening for those clues.
Yeah.
But the important thing is, sometimes you just got to accept the no.
Yeah.
And like we said,
Move on.
exactly. Find another way to get that task done.
Right. Because as much as we all need favors sometimes, you don't want to be that person who just...
Wears people down.
Yes! Exactly. Like, no matter how nicely you ask, there's a limit.
Totally. And it can actually damage those relationships you're trying to build at work.
So be mindful, be respectful, both when you're asking and when you're responding.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, I think we've more than covered favor etiquette for one day.
We have. From a simple English lesson, who knew?
Right. It just goes to show these deep dives, you never know what you're going to find.
Exactly. There's wisdom hidden everywhere if you know where to look.
Love it. So until next time, happy favor asking, everyone.
And remember, a little self-awareness goes a long way.
Truth. We'll see you next time.
See you then.